Welcome back to the forge for another build. We're going to be turning this billet we've got here. This is pre-welded up 80 CRV2 core with 15 and 20 cladding. We are going to be making an apparition. So we have fully seam welded this all the way around. That keeps any oxygen out, gives us a nice clean forge weld. And we're not really going for a lot of patterning to this sandmine. We may not even etch it. We'll just see what happens. So stick with us. We'll get the forge lit and get this thing banged out.
So that's 2 heats done. I like to go 4. All we're doing here is setting the weld. So I'm letting the hammer do the work. The hammer's dropping and falling. I'm not putting any force behind it. I'm using the flat side of my rounding hammer. That way all I'm doing is just hitting those 2 pieces of steel together, getting those welds to stick. Once they're stuck, I like to go 2 passes each side. You can hear it on the anvil. You'll hear the sound change as it goes from sort of a hollow sound to a hard sound. You know your welds are stuck. Once you've got those done, you've got those welds set, then you can start wailing on it, drawing it out, widening it, whatever you've got to do, and start forming your pattern. Your patterning, your sandmine comes from getting those blows into it and warping the steel into core. But you want to try and keep yourself even side to side, because that keeps your core centered. If your core's not centered when you grind it, you'll have a really uneven even look to your sandmine transition. So even blows per side. I flip it with the gauge of the forge so I know which side I'm working on, and yeah, we go from there. Okay, so we've got our 4 welding passes done. So I'm not actually going for a bold sandmine pattern on this blade. I'm actually not going to even etch in the sandmine pattern to it, keeping it as a mono steel. Biggest reason why I'm forge welding at all is because I needed stock of a certain size and I couldn't get my hands on 80 CRV2 in the size I needed. So you forge weld, you make it bigger. Everything I had was in a 1/4 inch, and I want 1/4 inch as my finished thickness. So 1/4 inch by 50, you can't really draw that out and make it bigger. So we've gone with the sandmine. I may change my mind later and give it an etch just to see how it looks, but I'm not really aiming for a bold pattern. So I'm not going any further past those 4 heats. I've got my my weld done. I'm just going to let it heat up now, do some straightening work, and anneal it, and then we're ready to transfer our template onto the blank and cut it out. Stick with us. Okay, so we're out of the forge now. We've straightened it. It's actually pretty straight. You're going to take it out to the grinder now and take off these welds on the edges, clean up the flats. Currently it's about 8mm thick, which gives us about 2mm to take off to reach our target thickness of 1/4 inch. Yeah, we'll get this forge scale off it and get our pattern marked out and cut out our billet.
So what I'm doing here is a technique I use for not having a surface grinder. Basically, I'll find the lowest point on my blank or billet with my height gauge on the surface plate there. We mark the edge with layout fluid, and we then go around the entire billet with the scribe and mark a line. That gives me a line to work to grind down the flat surfaces, and it actually works quite well. Give it a try if you don't have a surface grinder. Okay, so we'll start grinding those down to those lines. Start on the flats, focusing more towards the edge, get the edges right. If we're a little bit high in the middle, we'll come back and we'll take off the work rest, and we'll work vertically with the help of a welding magnet, and which you'll see here in a minute, and we'll get that billet flattened out. So now that we've got our billet all nice and flat, we head back into the surface plate, mark out the edge, and mark out our grind lines. I'll leave about 1 millimetre in the middle for our bevels, and the help of a file guide, we get onto the grinder and start grinding those bevels in. Start the bevels by establishing my edge, so I'll grind right down to my scribed lines on the edges, and then I can feather in the rest of the bevel back to the edge, and gives us a nice even surface. I also like to hang the belt off the edge slightly, gives that nice sweeping curve to the plunger line, and you get those bevels ground down. Go through a stage of belts, start with a 40, I'll end up on a 120, and get those nice and nicely refined. Okay, so I've put the small wheel attachment on here because we're grinding in some fullers into the blade. There'll be a sweeping curve fuller to follow the top clip of the blade, and the small wheel, nice and steady. I take these up to a good 240 grit before I even think about going for heat treatment. Makes the hand sanding later a lot easier. So here I've fitted my soft back platen. This helps to refine those grind lines on the bevels. It also adds a nice convex edge to them, which I think is great on this style of knives. It's going to get heavy use, a little bit more robust. It's just simply a steel platen with a piece of Scotch-Brite followed by a piece of leather on top, and helps to really nicely feather in and smooth out the bevels on the knife there. we're going to finish out part 1 of the build here. We've got some pinholes going in. That's going to be part 2. We'll do the heat treat and the finish grinding and maybe some hand sanding. So stick with us for that part, and in the meantime, have a nice day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, or give us a thumbs up.